defeated by collective action. So I'll step aside. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll step aside and enjoy it with you.
Thanks very much. It rather gives away the ending and the title. Can you all move forward a bit more, because I want to make sure you don't miss anything important that the Daleks might say. Thank you very much. Okay. Our play today is called The Demented Business Daleks Are Defeated by Collective Action, and our cast is 3 business demented Daleks and some workers over there, young workers who I can assure you are not on 0 hours contracts or not unpaid internships. And here we have dodgy Dave Cameron. As Neil has said, we've had neoliberal deregulatory governments for a very long time, since Thatcher in the 80s. But unfortunately this government has taken neoliberal dogma to a great extreme. It's turbocharged it and put it on steroids. So we are actually going to use dodgy Dave Cameron as the focus of our ire today. Okay, can we hear from the Daleks?
Deregulate, deregulate, deregulate. Health and safety must be destroyed.
Okay, on International Workers' Memorial Day every year across the world we remember the dead and we fight for the living, because no one should die because of work. But every year across the world, over 2 million die, millions more are hurt or made ill. In this country, at least 1,400 people die in work incidents, and 50,000 die from work illnesses. That's 140 people a day, 6 an hour. Compare that to 532 murders last year and 630 British soldiers killed in 13 years in Afghanistan and Iraq. Every year, over 6,000 people die in the northwest. Nationally, 100,000 are injured and millions are made ill by work stress, musculoskeletal disorders and other work-related illnesses. Almost all of these deaths, injuries and illnesses are preventable, and they're caused by mismanagement of risks by negligent employers. So all the evidence shows the problem at work isn't too much red tape, but too many bloody bandages. But for 4 years, and without a shred of evidence, business organisations, right-wing think tanks and the corporate political elite repeat again and again, like demented robotic Daleks,
deregulate, deregulate, deregulate.
And what does the government do? The government obeys the business Daleks. David Cameron says health and safety is unnecessary red tape, it's over-enforced, it's a burden on business that we can't afford. He calls health and safety a millstone, an albatross, and he made it his New Year's resolution to kill off health and safety culture for good. He thinks most workplaces are low risk and don't need health and safety regulation and inspection, and he believes there's a compensation culture. No one supports pointless bureaucracy or rules for their own sake. But the red tape Cameron complains about is not imposed by mindless bureaucrats, but carefully thought out, devised, evaluated and agreed by employers and unions with the HSE and a similar process in Europe. But the business Daleks still say,
health and safety, burden on business.
All the evidence shows that dodgy Dave is wrong. Compensation culture is a lie. Most workplaces aren't low risk. Good health and safety is not a burden on business. Lack of it is a burden on us. It isn't over-enforced. It lets employers off the hook. The factory cat gets more protection than workers. Last year, 86 people went to jail for hurting animals. But in 18 years, only 5 people have ever gone to jail for hurting workers. We love red tape because the evidence shows strong laws, inspections, strict enforcement, trade union organisation and safety reps save workers' lives and health. Oh, and it also saves employers money, saves taxpayers money, promotes innovation and economic growth. It's a win-win. But still the Daleks bleat dementedly.
Exterminate health and safety.
Generations of workers organised and worked collectively, formed trade unions and fought to win our rights to safer and healthy workplaces. In the dark satanic mills of the past, men, women and children were worked to early deaths on poverty pay in appallingly dangerous and unhealthy conditions. Little boys were sent up chimneys and little girls scurried under looms. Workers toiled for 16 hours or more a day, 6 to 7 days a week, without holidays or weekends, amongst poisonous dust, chemicals, wool, cotton and asbestos fibre, and they risked being killed or having limbs torn off in moving machinery. From day one, this government has been putting the clock back. And the Daleks say,
Deregulate, destroy, kill off health and safety.
since 2010, this government has obeyed the business Dalek by slashing and trashing our health and safety protection. The budget of the HSE and local authorities slashed by 44%. Preventative inspections banned in the majority of workplaces falsely classified low risk. Regulations and approved codes of practice scrapped. Guidance dumbed down. Prevention of work-related illness abandoned. The self-employed to be exempt from health and safety law apart from a few exceptions. Civil liability removed, making it almost impossible for workers to get compensation when hurt by negligent employers. The triennial review found the HSE fit for purpose, but the government rejected that and plans to commercialise the HSE anyway. And still the business Daleks screech again and again.
Exterminate, exterminate, exterminate.
Deregulating and cutting enforcement only benefits unscrupulous employers and leaves a deadly trail of death and destruction. Cutting health and safety red tape leads to more bloody bandages, more deaths from illnesses like mesothelioma, more deaths from work incidents, and epidemic levels of work illness like stress in schools, hospitals, shops, call centres, offices, more intense, brutish, nasty work. Modern workplaces are becoming the new satanic mills of the 21st century. We face longer hours of more intensive work, no inspections, no scrutiny of employers to make sure they're complying, little or no enforcement, working years longer until pension age, 0 hours contracts, slash social security safety net, no compensation, no justice, and work that doesn't even pay the bills. What century are we living in? And still the demented Daleks repeat.
Deregulate, destroy, exterminate health and safety.
This year, Cameron isn't celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Health and Safety Work Act by making us all safer. He's actively destroying the whole health and safety system in the UK and in Europe. In a race to the bottom, so we can compete with countries that have little regulation and enforcement. Like Bangladesh, where a year ago 1,200 were killed in the Rana Plaza factory collapse. Or Qatar, where over 1,400 migrant workers were killed in the building of the 2022 World Cup. Or Bhopal, where 25,000 have died over 30 years. I'm not going to compete. No thanks, Dave. We'd rather compete with countries like Norway, which have better regulation, lower occupational ill health, and thriving economies. And we want justice and better regulation of health and safety and free trade unions in all countries for all workers. We want a race to the top, not a race to the bottom. We love red tape because it really is better than bloody bandages. Jason Burden was 19 years old when he was killed. His dad, Trevor, says, "I'd like to say to all employers and politicians, health and safety is not a burden, but a necessity to protect our loved ones. I'd rather a millstone around their necks than a 1-ton bow thruster crushing Jason, our beautiful son, to death. Think on Jason, who we saw laid out in his coffin. Think on your own children and what you'd want for them in the workplace. The government waters down its commitment to health and safety with our tears." There are people here today who know exactly what that means. So we choose health and safety. So, what do we choose? Health and safety red tape or bloody bandages? Do we choose red tape? We're going to invite now, we're not going to wait for Doctor Who, we're going to invite some people I've talked to earlier, representatives of families of people killed by work and Northwest trade unions, to come up and take the red tape from Caroline and tie our Daleks up in red tape.
Take an end off on the other end.
Deregulate, deregulate, deregulate.
Tie them up, tie them up.
Exterminate, destroy. Deregulate, exterminate, destroy. We have been defeated.
Thank Thank you very much. We have just done what workers in the past did collectively to fight for the health and safety we have. Collectively, we have to fight against this neoliberal deregulation nonsense and tie up the business and government deregulation Daleks, and we have to fight for better health and safety. We're ready for the shout out now. Claire is going to lead us in a shout out, and we're going to shout to Dave Cameron that we love red tape better than bloody bandages.